I was in West at the weekend actually, and they've got their first attempt at a stout. They tell me it's the first stout anywhere in the world that complies with the German purity laws, and it's well worth a shot. So if you're in Glasgow, I recommend the Pint West Black. The Greens, as I said at the launch of the Yes campaign in Edinburgh when it kicked off last year, that the Greens are not nationalists. The Greens are a political party brought together by a different agenda. It's not an agenda based on national identity. And to me as an individual, national identity and flags and patriotism are not something of very much interest. Now, I think it's really important to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that you don't have to be a nationalist. You don't have to be motivated by national identity to reach a view on the question of independence and to reach a view in favour of a yes vote on independence. Frankly, if only those people who are driven by a feeling about national identity end up voting yes, that won't be enough. So I hope that people who do feel themselves to be nationalists and are driven by their feelings about national identity welcome the fact that Yes Scotland as a campaign is able to bring those views together with a wide range of others. Because it's going to have to be a broad campaign if we're going to achieve the result that I hope most people in this room want to see. The SNP, to their credit, let's take nothing away from the fact that they've run a spectacularly effective electoral machine in recent years. Their 2011 result was unprecedented. Well done. In a referendum, 49.9% is a failure. If we want to win a referendum, we need to get way beyond the number of people who do, or ever have, or ever will vote in SNP. And so I'd like to set out some of the reasons why my party is, broadly speaking, on the Yes side, and why it's important for the Yes campaign to get beyond issues that are associated with SNP policy. First of all, what do I mean by broadly supportive? Well, as I say, we're a political party defined by a different set of issues. We exist because of an acknowledgement that the way human beings have been organising their economies and their societies has brought us into a period of ecological crisis, where the conditions under which human civilization developed on this planet are under threat, and that if we continue to live in the way that we do, we will go way beyond any debates about whether you run a left-wing or right-wing politics, whether you have a capitalist or a socialist economy, whether you have a libertarian or authoritarian government. There will be no question about economies or governments if we don't ensure the conditions for human survival on this planet. That's the agenda that brings the Green Party together and has done for 40 years or so. Where that leads most of us is a feeling that we need to decentralise a great deal of our economy, to relocate people with the resources that they depend on and the industry and the business which they depend on, rather than having everything dependent on globalised forces, globalised structures. We need to relocalise a great deal of our economy. To take one example alone, energy. And this is where probably the SNP and my own party have a great deal in common in terms of energy generation. The need to expand our renewable electricity, our renewable heat, and to decarbonise our energy system. But the opportunity that that gives is not just to change the energy mix, to change the ownership structure as well, to decentralise a lot of that so that we're not so dependent on a handful of vast multinationals, so that we're not so dependent on big companies that we resent paying our electricity bills to. What can the Scottish Parliament do about that? Well, it can promote the renewable energy generation, but it can do zip when it comes to the regulation of the electricity market. When it comes to dealing with those big companies, even on something as basic as fuel prices, the Scottish Parliament can do very little. We have to deal with the consequences of climate change, with the consequences of fuel poverty. but we can do very, very little about the causes at the moment. On a social agenda, you know, the Greens, again, probably share some aspects in terms of the social, what's that Simon call it, Mike? The social contract, as he calls it?
Social wage.
The social wage, yeah. I've never been quite satisfied it's fully defined, but what's included under that banner headline? Things like a universal approach to public services and to a range of benefits which are not being protected in the UK and not being protected by certain other political parties in Scotland. We'd like to go even further. We'd like to say there's a universal right to live a decent life, and our approach to the tax and benefit system is a solution called citizens' income, a universal income paid to all people as of right, sweeping away the poverty trap, the benefits trap which exists in any means-tested system, ensuring that all people have got the ability to work a bit and earn a bit, mix working with their caring responsibilities, with their creative life, with their social life. It's a solution that the Beveridge report looked at during the creation of the welfare state, and it was only narrowly defeated at the time. And I think some of the inefficiencies with our existing welfare state suggest that we should have gone down that road in the first place. But what can the Scottish Parliament do about these things? Again, very, very little. We have to deal with the consequences of poverty. We have to deal with the health, the criminal justice consequences, the social consequences. But we can do nothing with the existing range of powers to make our society fundamentally more equal, to start closing the gap between rich and poor. In the last couple of weeks we had a debate about the legacy of Thatcherism in the Scottish Parliament. And the Tories were all keen to talk about what a disaster the 1970s were and everything that was wrong with the economy in the 1970s. Well, no doubt there was a lot wrong with the economy or with industrial relations in the 1970s. But if you look beyond GDP, just how much money is swirling around the economy, if you look at a measure of human well-being, 1976 was a historic high point. 30 years of that post-war welfare state settlement led to a high point in human well-being. And we've never, now after 30 years or so of a centre-right, Thatcherite consensus in UK politics, we've never approached the same degree of human well-being. Our society has become ever more unequal. And the Scottish Parliament, and even local government, can do very, very little to start closing the gap at the moment. If we want to achieve the transition to a more equal society, to a more sustainable economy, the solution is simply unattainable with the current constitutional settlement. Now, my party, as long as I've been a member, every time the question of independence has gone to our conference, we've had a debate, and it's been broadly 2-to-1 in favour. We're probably the only political party in the Scottish Parliament that's comfortable acknowledging that we've got members, and activists and voters on both sides of this debate. We then hugely fail to fall out about it because, as I say, we're not defined by that issue. We're able to include a range of views on this issue. But I think that gives us actually an opportunity. The party has a policy which most of the members support, and even those who disagree with our policy on this don't disagree with it so much that they can't stay in the party, because we're united on other issues that are more important, more central, more defining for the Green movement. But it does give us the opportunity, I think, to engage with people who are not sure yet, in a way that some others who are very, very personally associated, Alex Salmon, for example, is very, very personally associated in voters' minds with the independence cause. And most people have already decided whether they like him or not. Some do, some don't. Very few people will change the way they feel about Mr. Salmon over the next year and a half. But the Yes campaign absolutely needs to engage with the people who are not sure yet. The people who have decided already on both sides are unlikely to change their mind. I'm convinced that there is a substantial number of people out there in Scotland who are open-minded, but not yet convinced. They're kind of maybe I, or maybe if, or maybe but kind of people. And it's absolutely vital that we engage with those people on their terms, because the No campaign, the Better Together campaign, don't actually need to win the argument. We need to win the argument. We need to change people's position. But many of those maybe I or maybe F or maybe but people, their default position may be to vote no. They need to be convinced. The Yes campaign needs to convince them. The No campaign only needs to keep them confused or uncertain. And a blizzard of facts in either direction is going to achieve that. I think we need to get beyond blizzards of fact. We get beyond a kind of torrent of statistical or really shallow predictions about how many jobs will be created in this industry or that, or what our GDP or what our debt to revenue ratios will be, and all this kind of stuff. I don't think it's very compelling. I think we need to be articulating a vision, big ideas, and not to be afraid of doubt and uncertainty, because life is full of doubt and uncertainty, and there is a positive way to talk about that. It's about possibility. I don't know what the future is going to be if we vote yes or no. If Scotland votes no, nobody can tell you what's going to happen to jobs or to economic activity or the relationship with Europe, which Mr. Cameron wants to redefine. No one can tell you what's going to happen to the global economy if you vote no. No one's got a crystal ball if you vote yes either. But if we vote yes, the one thing that we can be certain of is that we'll make our own choices, make our own mistakes and learn from them. And that we'll be able to take a different path if we choose it. I think it's about opening up possibilities. Not knowing the future, I think, is a wonderful thing. If I was to give any one of you a book that page by page told you the story of every day for the rest of your life, you might skip to the end, you might read a few highlights, but I think the next thing you do is you tear up the book, you throw it away, you start making different choices, and start embracing the uncertainty. You can think of uncertainty as something scary that makes you curl up in a ball and never go out your door again. Or you can think of uncertainty as the possibilities of the things you might achieve if you do go out your door and engage with the world. That's, I think, where Scotland needs to be. Striking out, going out of our door, engaging with the wider world, making choices, opening up possibilities. So, I hope that's a useful introduction. I look forward to the rest of the debate and to your questions afterwards. And more particularly, I look forward to hearing the rest of the speakers on the panel, because I know how good they are. So thank you all very much.